And then there were four. Welcome to a semi-final preview with a difference, driven by Kia Motors. We've invited four leading experts from across Europe to represent each of the remaining UEFA Europa League clubs and to simply determine which two clubs are going to make it through to the final. Welcome to the Europa League Weekly. Joining us today is our regular European football expert, Kevin Hatchard. We've got Archie Tutt, who is an expert on Eintracht Frankfurt. Spanish journalist Fermin Rodriguez knows everything about Valencia. And last but by no means least, commentator extraordinaire Chris Parrott, who's got a lot to say about Arsenal's chances of reaching the final. Also in the studio, we have the UEFA Europa League trophy. And if we were allowed to pick it up, which we're not, we probably wouldn't be able to because it's the heaviest of all the European trophies. Guys, thanks for joining. You ready?
Yep.
All right, let's do this. Now, we already knew the semi-final draw as soon as the quarterfinals had finished. Arsenal taking on Valencia and Eintracht Frankfurt face Chelsea. And Chelsea, let's get on to them. Tournament favourites, leading scorers in this season's competition. Come on, Kevin, what are their chances of European success again?
Well, as you say, they've been regarded as favourites for quite a long time in this competition, and rightly so. They've scored 30 goals across the UEFA Europa League so far. They've only conceded 7. 3 of those were in one game, of course, against Slavia Praha. They have players who've been there and done it. They've won major European competitions. I think even though Maurizio Sarri, the coach, hasn't necessarily picked his strongest available 11 in every game, he's picked a consistent core of starters, and all of those guys have really embraced the competition. They have momentum, they have belief. I think they can win it.
I love the way his teams play, but there's a reason that he's never won a major trophy yet. He has one way of playing. It's great in league football. It might need a tactical tweak. And you mentioned in that game against Slavia, they scored 3 times. Chelsea continued to play the same way, and they weren't punished in the quarterfinals, but against a better team like Eintracht Frankfurt, they might be in the last 4.
On the other end, attacking-wise, I know there's a certain player that impresses you, Eden Hazard.
For me, he's the most determinant player of the competition. He's on a mission just to bring a trophy to Stamford Bridge. Chelsea, for me, is the main favourite of this Europa League because they got Olivier Giroud.
They mentioned Olivier Giroud. I want to see you up by the screen, Kevin, because I think we should discuss in a bit more detail and how important he is to Chelsea, because in January Chelsea decides to get Gonzalo Higuain, but it's not been him who's been shown, it's been Giroud.
Here we can see his aerial prowess. Well, he's been given the opportunity to really embrace the competition. He's strong, he's a classic centre forward, makes space for other players in the Chelsea attack, and also he has the technical ability to be able to set up goals as well.
Would he be a threat for the Frankfurt defence?
Just thinking about it now, centre-backs who he's likely to come up against. David Abraham, who is renowned certainly as one of the fiercest and toughest opponents in the Bundesliga. Robert Lewandowski would certainly vouch for that. After that as well, you've got Evan Undika, who got sent off against Benfica, but a young defender who's been having a really good season. I don't think any of them would be frightened of Olivier Giroud, particularly because they've got the physical prowess to go up against him, but also certainly a little bit quicker than he is.
Okay guys, finish that section. Quite simply, who's going through? Kevin, you sticking with Chelsea?
I am. I think their experience will prove critical.
Archie?
Written in the stars, Frankfurt.
Now we knew what those two were going to say. Over to the neutral corner. Chris, what do you think?
I can't see past Chelsea. I think they're a top team.
And Fermin?
I would love to meet the noisy fans from Eintracht in the final, but I think Chelsea is the main favourite of the competition.
Okay, there you have it. Our experts are predicting Chelsea to make it through to the final. Before we move on to the second semi-final, it's time for our regular segment of Goal of the Round. And Kevin, as our regular expert, I'm leaving the decision to you.
Well, I've chosen a goal from the game between Chelsea and Slavia Praha at Stamford Bridge from Shevchik. But wonderful goal. Look at the way that Slavia, chasing the game, show great patience here. Wonderful crisp passing, and once it gets to Shevchik, gets the ball out of his feet wonderfully, and what a hit that is.
Incredible
An
strike.
Unstoppable strike. And at that moment, Slavia had momentum. They started to feel that they could get back into the contest, and it was a wonderful moment for their fans as well.
Let's move on to Arsenal versus Valencia. Fermin, I think it's your time. Let's talk about Valencia's threats and how you believe they can really get at this Arsenal team. I know they've got a lot of quality. Gonzalo Guedes as well.
Now at the moment is the player that is in the best shape. That was the most critical moment in Krasnodar, and he appeared just to rescue the team. And he can play on the wing and also finishing the transitions, which is the speciality from Valencia. Also Rodrigo Moreno. Rodrigo Moreno appears very well between lines. He damages the opponents there, appearing and generating for his teammates, but the key player is Dani Parejo, the captain. If he plays well, the team runs perfectly.
And Chris, on the flip side, Arsenal, attacking threat. Aubameyang, Lacazette.
Twin threat, isn't it, with those two? They're without Aaron Ramsey, though, who might have played his last game for the club, given he's leaving in the summer, in Naples. And he has been a massive part of the way they're so fluent going forward. You see his goal where he arrives in the win over Napoli at home. That's where I think Mesut Ozil now needs to come in, and he needs to play that position. I think Arsenal can overrun Valencia, and if they give those two chances, they will score.
But actually, it's worth bearing in mind what Marcelino has done at Valencia, because this is a guy that has stabilised the club. He has made them incredibly difficult to beat. One of the problems they have had is drawing too many games, we know that. But he's given them a real fighting spirit as well. They were nearly out of the competition against Krasnodar, and then Guedes came up with that late goal to, make sure that they survived and progressed in the tournament. He is a big plus for that football club.
You can break this down as well in terms of, in both games, it's two battles of footballing ideals and how they work around them. In Marcelino against Unai Emery, you've got someone who's a little bit more rigid in Marcelino against Unai Emery, who's prepared to find the winning formula. I'm interested to see how exactly Unai Emery adapts to how Marcelino wants to play.
Great discussion, guys. But the important question now, who's going through to the final? Chris?
Arsenal, even without Ramsey.
If Valencia survives the trip to London, I go for Valencia.
Right, neutral side this time, guys. Kevin?
I think the key is the strikers. I think Lacazette and Aubameyang can make the difference over the two legs.
And with the underdogs, Valencia.
No, all right, so a bit of an even split there on the second semi-final. 2 have gone for Arsenal, 2 have gone for Valencia. Before our experts put forward their daily fantasy picks, 2 lucky Valencia fans had a day out like no other in the Kia Fan Challenge with goalkeeping legend Santiago Canizares. Here's a snippet of what went on.
Una pasión dentro de mí, mi corazón late por ti. Si realmente eres tan buen fan como dices.
A ver si te sabes esta.
¡Ale Valencia! ¡Ale Valencia! Bien. Aparte buen portero, buen fan, ¿eh?
Lo hemos pasado genial.
Amun Valencia.
Amun Valencia
A
siempre.
por la Europa League.
It's time for UEL Daily Fantasy. We're going to get picks from each of our experts. You're all going to select one player from each of the clubs you're representing. Chris, going to start with you, actually.
It's got to be Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. He's had more shots in the Europa League than any other player. 4 goals, 2 assists, and if Arsenal score, he tends to be involved, and I think they will score against Valencia.
Fermin?
If I should pick one player, I would Gonzalo Guedes. I think he's going to score in London and also in Valencia.
Kevin?
Olivier Giroud, he's the competition's top scorer. He is a regular starter for Chelsea in this tournament. He's really embraced the UEFA Europa League.
Luka Jovic for Eintracht Frankfurt has to be him, top scorer for them, but also hunted by Europe's elite clubs right now in the transfer market, but growing very much on the European stage.
Oh, fantastic. Thanks for your selections, guys. You might agree, you might disagree, but we'll find out for sure in the next show. Before we go, it's time for To Remember, To Forget, and it features one player in both sections. I wonder if you can guess who it is. João Felix set the world alight with a hat-trick for Benfica, including this screamer. Alexandre Lacazette hit his free kick to perfection. But he might want to forget about this mishap. And as own goals go, he got a feel for Slavia Praha's Simon Deli. I'm afraid that's it for today's show. A big thank you to Kevin, Archie, Fermin and Chris for joining us. We'll see on the next show whether their predictions are going to be right. Join us next time. We'll be in Baku previewing the final. In the meantime, enjoy the semi-finals and we'll see you soon.